Hello. Thanks for watching. This is a collection of 3 true scary paranormal stories from Maryland, USA. Links in description. Number 1. The Demon Met His Match. By T3H_H0BBits. 2009. February 24th, Maryland. It has been a while since I've had any kind of demonic experience. Life has been good and I've been growing in the Lord. But every once in a while I still think about my experiences. In the past, thinking about it has never caused anything to happen. Until now. A few weeks ago I found myself thinking about my experiences. It has never bothered me to think about it or even talk about it. So I went to my mom and asked her why these things happen. We had a very long talk about it and about what to do if anything ever happened again. She told me of one of her experiences and it chilled me to the bone. My mom's experience happened to her when she was at church one Sunday. She was sitting there listening to the preacher and all of a sudden, instead of his head and face, she saw a monster-looking thing with huge eyes. It only lasted for a split second. And she wasn't even sure that it happened. Because of this, she didn't say anything. However, later that day someone from the church called my grandparents and asked my grandmother and anyone in our family if they had seen anything strange during the service. When my mom came home later that day, my grandmother asked her the question. It was then that the memory came rushing back to my mom and she screamed. Because of this experience and because she told me that the eyes were huge. I can only assume that somehow my experience with the eye thing and hers are linked. It cannot be through family because I am adopted. Perhaps they are only similar looking demons. After my mom told me this story, I was disturbed by it. But I didn't talk about it anymore. A few nights later my little brother slept in my room on the floor. When I fell asleep, I was awakened a few hours later feeling that someone or something besides my brother was in my room. Instantly I closed my eyes. I could feel whatever it was at the head of my bed. After a while I opened one eye only to discover a shadow in the shape of a person standing over me. All I could see was a torso and legs. I didn't dare look up for a face. I quickly shut my eyes and started to say, "Lord," in my head. I didn't even try to say it out loud because I knew I probably wouldn't be able to speak anyway. I kept saying that and started to feel the shock coming on. However, it was not as strong as it was in the past. I kept saying, "Lord," and then something really strange started happening. I started to see light even though my eyes were closed. When you're outside in the sun and you close your eyes, do you not see red? Well, I saw white. I didn't want to open my eyes because I thought that demon might be doing something. However, I was baffled by the low intensity of the shock. I could move. If I had tried to speak, I probably could have. After a while I heard something. It was like the sound of fireworks and strong wind and water mixed together. I looked with both eyes even though I was scared. It was then that I discovered a light coming from the foot of my bed. It was like someone was lying on the floor shining up a light. I was still aware of the shadow standing over my head. But when I looked at the light, the shock felt even less intensifying. I closed my eyes because I thought it might be something bad. But then the shock started to get intense again. I quickly caught on and opened my eyes again to stare at that light. That's when the strangest thing happened. I kept staring at that light and it started getting brighter. I found that it was so bright that I couldn't stand to look at it anymore. When I closed my eyes I didn't feel the shock. So I kept them closed. I had stopped praying by now and was feeling perplexed by everything. My eyes were still closed. But I sensed that that light was moving. In fact, I know it was. The sounds were getting louder and it felt like it was hovering over me. It was then that I sensed that the shadow had released its grip on me completely. It's like it couldn't do anything to me. After a few seconds I opened my eyes slightly and both beings were right next to each other. And yet, the light was so bright that I could barely see the dark shadow anymore. Still, I could sense that it was still there. It was as if the light had pushed the shadow as far away as possible. I remember looking up and feeling as if I was seeing good and evil at war. After a while they both left and I was wide awake. I wasn't scared like I normally am. All I did was pray and thank God that the demon had gone. I fell asleep almost immediately. I believe it was either an angel or God coming to fight the demon. I have not seen that bright light since. It was not some tiny orb that floated around my room. It was not some white sheet, good ghost. I think it was a real angel, and I am in awe of what a powerful God I have. Greater is he that is in you than he that it is in the world. The funny thing, it only happened when my 6-year-old brother slept in my room. Since that night I have had quite a few experiences, but have not experienced that light. I have felt something watching me as I sleep. It seems like it is coming from the doorway. Most of the time I pray silently until it leaves. But if my little brother sleeps in my room, I can sleep without waking up to a presence. This baffles me, and I often wonder if it's because he's as young as he is. Maybe he is protected. Then again, my first experience happened when I was 5. When I think back to that experience, I am reminded of Matt 28:20, and lo, I am with you always, even to the end of the age, and it doesn't matter how many more experiences I have. I'm safe. I'm safe in knowing that nothing can happen to me without God's permission. I'm safe because I know that there is a power greater than that of any shadow, or presence. The demon met his match. Number 2. House making it hard to remain a skeptic. By M15 Terp 1 NK. 2013. January 9th. Maryland. I'm going to start by mentioning I am a skeptic. Not to say that I don't believe paranormal occurrences can take place, I just try to find the most rational explanation first. The house I live in is making it hard to deny the fact that there is something wrong here. The earliest occurrence I can remember, a friend and I were up late chatting and the subject of ghosts was brought up. We're both adults. I believe we were 24 and 22 at the time. And we're just passing the time with good conversation. After a couple hours we start looking up real ghost videos online. We muted the computer as it was quite late and didn't want to wake my now fiancé sleeping down the hall if we found one of those jump videos with the scary face flash and loud scream. Most of what we found was easily faked or obviously meant to be a spoof. One video really caught our attention though. It was a compilation of several videos that reminded us of experiences we had. Some we had just discussed. In fact, the final clip was the longest, and for most of the beginning of the clip nothing was happening. We both got in really close on the screen to try and figure out what the video was trying to show. It was a child's room. Looked like it was from the 70s or 80s, and the video quality matched. In the foreground was a picture of Jesus making the "I have big spikes through my hands" face, wearing the crown of thorns. The background was a closet with one of those toy clocks. The ones where if you spin one hand they both spin at the appropriate speed. Hanging on the inside of the open door. After almost giving up and moving on to the next video, the hands on the clock began to spin. Slowly at first, and gradually more rapid until it was bouncing against the closet door on which it was hung, making a thumping sound. I look over at my friend, who is now about 10 shades whiter than usual and slack-jawed. I inquired about his reaction and he replied with, "The computer is muted." I don't remember where I was going to go with my reply, but I got out a "yeah, but," before he pointed at the icon on screen and the lit mute button on the laptop and said, "No, Pink, the computer is muted." Suddenly it occurred to me that there should be no way we could hear the clock thumping away on screen. We both backed up fast onto the couch behind us. 2 grown men cuddling on a couch arguing over who has to shut the laptop, which was still thumping, getting louder. We decided that both of us jumping up, slamming the laptop shut, and running out of the room was the best course of action. Scariest part of this particular happening is a few months later we were having another one of our "Let's Tell Stories That Will Freak Us Out" nights, and my brother was in attendance. So we wanted to see if we could get the muted computer to make noise with that video again. Problem is, we scoured the internet to find it to no avail. Literally no trace of it on any video hosting site we could find. This was, as far as I'm concerned, the night that started it all. It took longer than I expected to type this out on my phone, so I'm going to break here and post the next memorable experience tomorrow. Number 3. Grim Reaper in the Nursing Home. By DarriuxDarkk. 2019. October 11th. Maryland. This happened about 7 or 8 years ago. I can't really recall the exact time, but it has been a very long time already. I was working on this nursing home back when I still live in Baltimore, Maryland. I was a new nurse back then, and I was stationed at this skilled unit they called the vent unit. Now the patients or residents that stays here looked like they are in critical condition, with their ventilators attached to their trachea and PEG tubes attached to their feeding pumps, but they are actually unstable condition enough for them to be placed on our unit. Our unit is like a crossroad. I don't know how to describe it well, but I'll try. The nurses' station is in the middle and shaped like circular, where you can see the north, south, east, and west hallways leading to other units. The north hallway has a dead end that leads to a wall at the far end and nowhere else to go. That side of the hallway always creeps me out, especially during the night shift where I always work. One night, it was past midnight already and the lights were dimmed, but the north hallway was particularly darker than the rest, probably because it is a dead end. I was doing my chart checks when at the corner of my eye I saw a very tall shadow that just glided towards a resident's room. I was facing the east wing that time because I didn't want to be facing on the dark hallway, and still that didn't spare me from witnessing something unusual. I shrugged it off as my imagination, but I can really feel something different that time. Anyway, since it is my duty to do rounds to make sure my patients are okay, I went to the north hallway and checked on my patients, and nope, I didn't see anything unusual or any tall shadows. So I went to do what my duties needed me to do that night. Fast forward the next day, as I come in for my shift that night and I was getting report. I was surprised that the endorsing nurse told me that the patient in room such and so passed away that morning. I immediately recalled the tall shadowy figure that I saw out of the corner of my eye that went through that side of the hallway rooms at the far end. I wasn't particularly sure which room, but I knew it was near the resident that passed away. Again, I passed it off as a coincidence. A few months after, something happened that scared the crap out of me while working there. As I was passing meds past midnight for some scheduled meds on my patients, I was again on the north hallway, and it was pretty dim and everything is quiet except for some occasional dings and alarms of some vents, but nothing unusual. As I entered on this particular room, it was pretty dark since the lights are off in the room, but there are dim lights on the hallway behind me. Now the rooms have these wide windows and usually they are covered at night by curtains or blinds, but on this particular room it was wide open. I can't see what's outside since it's pitch black outside, but the window served as a mirror since I can see my reflection and the reflection of the hallway behind me when I enter the room. This gives me the creeps until today, and I remember when I entered the room I felt like there was something behind me. You know that feeling like when you are being watched and you feel your hairs behind your neck standing up with that prickly sensation all over your body as your heart starts to race and pound faster. That's what I felt, and what made it worse was when I was trying to search for the room's light switch. I roamed my eyes all over the room while feeling with my hand on the wall for the switch when my eyes landed on the reflection of the window where I saw a tall shadowy figure standing just behind me. My heart literally skipped a beat, and as soon as I felt the switch I turned it on and the figure is gone from the reflection on the window. I was so freaked out that I never said a word that shift and just did my work to occupy my mind. Even my coworker asked if I was okay, but I just showed them I was, even if inside my mind I wasn't. The next day as I come back for work, I heard the terrible news that the patient died that morning, where I saw the shadowy figure. I don't know for sure if they were Grim Reapers or death, but that was one of my unforgettable moments that I'll remember when I was working on that place. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. If you want me to tell your story, please DM me. A special thank you to the storytellers on yourghoststories.com. Links in the description.